evening, everyone. Welcome back to the Bullpen podcast. I am your host, Adam Kunos. Thank you very much for joining us on this wonderful Sunday evening. You can follow me on Twitter at Kunos19. Make sure you also follow the podcast at the Bullpen Pod on Twitter as well. And just a heads up, we are not paying for that blue check mark, so we're just going to stay as normal as ever on Twitter. No blue check mark needed. We are sponsored by Fanatics. Head on over to Fanatics using our Linktree link in our Twitter bio for everything Major League Baseball, including hats, jerseys, sweatshirts, t-shirts. Also just dropped your 2023 Mother's Day edition baseball hat, so please head over to Fanatics to check out everything Major League Baseball. Once again, my name is Adam. Welcome back to the Bullpen Podcast. Hope you had a great Sunday. If you're just watching the ESPN Sunday Night Baseball game, the San Francisco Giants defeated the New York Mets 5-4 to cap off a wonderful Sunday in baseball. It was an awesome day. Today, my wife and I took a trip down to Tampa to watch the White Sox versus Rays in person. It was our first game of the season seeing a live baseball game. Unfortunately, it did not end well for me as a White Sox fan. The White Sox ended up getting swept by the hottest team in baseball, the Tampa Bay Rays. To give you a quick recap of this series, the Rays walked off the White Sox on Friday. They walked them off in 10 innings yesterday, and then they defeated the White Sox 4-1 today. To give you a little bit heads up about what this series means in this family, before the series began, my wife and I made a small little bet regarding the series. So we would say loser of the series has to don the opposite team's gear. So had the White Sox won the series, she would have been wearing a White Sox jersey tomorrow to work. We would have got an amazing picture of that and posted it on our Twitter page. However, the Rays absolutely demolished the White Sox. So I stand before you, actually I sit before you donning a Rays jersey, a Rays hat. So unfortunately, I am the loser of this bet. I'm also using a Rays cup today from the game. So I'm just going to be decked out in full Tampa Bay gear for this podcast. But I do pay up to my bets, and this is the second time that I have lost a bet to the Rays White Sox. When we first started this podcast, back in 2021, I did lose a bet as the White Sox did lose that series
3 times.
I'm being told 3 times. I can't remember the first time, but I'm gonna go with the second time.
It was pre-podcast.
Also pre-podcast. If you did not hear that, my wife is chiming in from the background on our bet. So I am currently 0 for 3 in bets made about the White Sox versus Rays. I do hope I will win one of these bets sooner or later, but I will probably never learn my lesson, as the White Sox and Rays will meet next week. Actually, not the following week, for a 4-game series. So we may have to make another serious bet. And if we're going to just make bold predictions, ladies and gentlemen, I will end up getting my ass kicked in that bet. So stay tuned for more on the Bullpen Podcast. But we did have a wonderful time at the game this afternoon. It was a great game. About 24,000 in attendance at this game. I'm pretty sure I'm overestimating that attendance, but we had amazing seats, and we were sitting right down the right field line. You can see some pictures up on our live broadcast now. For those of you that are listening, I got some pictures from the game. It was an absolute fantastic game. 1:40 first pitch. The game lasted 2 hours and 2 minutes. I'm talking this game flew by, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, there were times where we're walking around the stadium getting food, doing some merchandise shopping, that we were back in our seats and it was like already a 7th inning. So this game absolutely flew by. And I'm going to credit that, and I've said this before, I'm going to keep saying it again, the pitch clock has sped up the game, and it is fantastic for those who like a fast game. However, if you do like the game to kind of drag on, if you do like sitting in a baseball game for 3 to 4 hours, you can't see it, but my wife is nodding to that. She loves lengthy baseball games, so maybe we'll get a chance to see a playoff game because those tend to take 4 to 5 hours. But we did have the pitch clock, so you had the pitch clock behind home plate. You had 2 of them out in center field, so that way you'd be able to see it. It was just a kind of an afterthought when you first saw it, as the game was just kind of progressing at a very fast pace. The Rays, who are an absolute firestorm this year, they are the best team in baseball. They are 19-3. They homered yet again. They've homered in every single game so far this season, so that's 22 straight games with at least 1 home run. You had I believe you had a solo shot, a 2-run shot. So the Rays did get most of the runs on home runs today. The Sox did add one back on a sacrifice fly, but that was not enough as the Rays do defeat the White Sox 4-1. And the Rays improved to now an impressive 13-0 at home. They are 13-0 at the Trop. And again, you talk about a good home field advantage. As much as that stadium gets lagged on for being I'm going to say, I hate to say it's a shitty ballpark for the Rays. They have probably one of the better home field advantages in baseball. You got the echo from the dome. You got the lights that are just like kind of like playing tricks on your eyes. The dome itself is a pure like kind of cream color. So if you're feeling a ball in the infield or outfield and that ball gets hit straight up into the dome, you can lose it all. You can lose it in a heartbeat. The catwalks are in place, so you got to be alert of that. So there's a lot that goes into effect when you go to Trop. And again, 13-0 is the longest winning streak in franchise history. So good for the Rays on this hot start. They're probably going to be making waves going further on this season. Overall, even though the White Sox did lose the game, I enjoy live baseball. Watching baseball on TV is great and all, but going to a game live, sitting in the seat in the stadium, getting a couple hot dogs, a cold beer, French fries, popcorn, ice cream, whatever your snacks happen to be, you cannot beat a live baseball atmosphere. I mean, I'll give you a heads up on what we were dealing with in the game. The game was pretty quiet from the fans' perspective until we had a couple kids behind us kind of yelling out gestures at both teams. They were kind of making fun, I guess, of the Rays and the White Sox. You had Tampa Bay Rays, White Sox suck chants going across the stadium, which I just kind of shrugged my shoulders and went, oh, well, and had my beer. So I was just kind of enjoying the atmosphere and just enjoying the game. Again, and these tickets, you talk about pretty good deal on these tickets. These tickets were about $10 a piece, so we ended up paying $10 a piece for those tickets, $26 after you add taxes and fees. Parking was $20, so we just spent a shy under $50 just to get into the ballpark before we got food, some merchandise, a couple of drinks. So, I mean, that is a good deal. I mean, Rays fans, you need to get out to support this team. I mean, it was a good crowd today, so get out, support your team. And to the city of St. Petersburg and Tampa, get this team a goddamn new stadium. They need a new stadium badly. I mean, you have the best team in baseball right now, and they're playing in a dome stadium that was not designed for baseball. It was designed more for football, soccer, just indoor events that are not baseball. You need to get this team a brand new stadium. Get them a stadium ASAP. I mean, the Rays are going to be a good team for the longest time. Even looking up about the left field and seeing all the banners that they have hung, you know, they have a couple wild card banners, a lot of division championships, 2 AL pennant banners. They have been very successful since 2007. I mean, 2007 was one of their better seasons, but 2008 is when they really started being the Rays that we know, winning, getting to the World Series, just dominating teams from start to finish. So you need to get this team a brand new stadium, and you better do it sooner than later, or else you're going to kind of find yourself in what the Athletics are in. And we're going to talk about them next. So earlier this week, a story broke out I got my news from ESPN that the Athletics have a purchase agreement with the city of Las Vegas for a 49-acre piece of land off the Vegas Strip. This piece of land is owned by Red Rock Resorts, which is the parent company of Stanchion Casinos. So if you're reading between the lines, it looks like the Oakland Athletics are making headway to move to Las Vegas. The Athletics have been in Oakland since 1968. They started off in Philadelphia, moved to Kansas City, then they moved to Oakland. So they've been in 3 different cities up until now, but it looks like that the Oakland Athletics are getting ready to move from Oakland to Las Vegas. And before we dive into the move to Las Vegas, let's talk about the success they've had in Oakland. Since moving to Oakland, they've won 4 World Series championships, 72, 73, 74, and 89. They've won 6 AL pennants and 17 American League Western Division titles. They also have 4 wildcard berths thrown in there. So they have been very successful in this city. However, and I say this with a big sigh because this has been something that has been known for, I would say, the past 15 years, when you saw all new ballparks coming into the play and kind of these cookie cutter stadiums, multi-purpose stadiums were going the leeway of for just designated ballparks. The Athletics play in the Oakland Coliseum. If you've ever been over to the Oakland Coliseum, you know that it is a multi-purpose stadium that was shared by, at one time, the Athletics and the Raiders. You had Mount Davis, which is a giant center field, massive luxury box seats that Mark Davis built in the Coliseum primarily for Oakland Raider games, just to make sure that he got enough ticket value, getting more people to see Raiders games. So the lease for the Athletics does expire in 2024 at the Coliseum. So after the 2024 season, the Athletics really don't have a place to play for the season. So that lease is coming up in about, I'll say after next season, the Oakland Athletics will not have a designated ballpark. Now, that stadium is deteriorating very quickly. It is a very old stadium. I mean, about a week and a half ago, you had a possum break through the visiting broadcaster's booth, and they had to get evacuated from there because they had a possum get into the broadcast booth. It's a very old stadium. My family has been out there once, and they said that it was just a old stadium. I mean, you have leaky pipes. I mean, it is badly needed upgrade stadium. That has been there since the Athletics moved to Oakland. They share with the Raiders. And if you look at where that stadium is located, at one time you had three teams in this little sports, I'll say, kind of sports media area. You had the Golden State Warriors playing at the Oracle Arena. You had the Athletics and Raiders playing at the Coliseum. So you had a great sports hub for the city of Oakland, parking all around. So you had a one-stop area for sports in Oakland. But then the Warriors left to go back to San Francisco. The Raiders moved to Vegas, and that just left the Athletics in a stadium that is not open fully. I mean, they have tarped off that upper deck for like the past 7 years. I mean, if you look at pictures, that entire upper deck is covered in green tarp. They got retired numbers up there, the World Series championships, as logos up there just to kind of cover it. Because unfortunately, the Athletics cannot draw a crowd to that stadium, and it's sad because the Athletics were at one point one of the better teams in baseball. I mean, I remember back in the 2000s, they were winning division championships. At the start of the 2010s, they were battling the Rangers for divisions. They won back-to-back division titles in 2012, 2013. They shocked and won the division back again in 2020. They were at one point a really good team, but they have broken up that championship caliber team that they once had, unfortunately. And now that kind of represents in the attendance. They are last in attendance. They're last in league in record, and I believe they only have 4 wins right now. I'm going to pull up the record and see exactly what they're at right now. But it's just sad to see the Oakland Athletics kind of come to this state in their franchise history. Going forward, yeah, they're 4-18 right now with a 182 winning percentage. They're 1-9 in their last game, sitting 10.5 behind Texas in the AL West. And we know that Oakland, unfortunately, is not going to be a great team this year. They're going to be as so-so, just a mediocre team. They're going to be a team that's showing up, and if you're a decent team like the Rays, the Yankees, the Orioles, you're going to get beat. You're going to have a chance to beat up on this team for maybe 6 times a year, unfortunately. Now, the city of Oakland has come out with a statement. Mayor Sheng Chow has criticized the announcement, saying that the city of Oakland will cease negotiations moving forward with the Athletics. He is quoted saying, I am deeply disappointed that the A's have chosen not to negotiate with the city of Oakland as a true partner in a way that represents a long relationship with the fans and the city and the team. He also goes on to say, it is yet clear to me that the A's have no intention of staying in Oakland and simply have been using this process to try to extract a better deal out of Las Vegas. I am not interested in continuing to play the game. The fans and our residents deserve better. I mean, that's a powerful statement, but we ran a poll on our Twitter page earlier this week and say, who's to blame for this? Is it the city of Oakland? Is it the Athletics? Or is it Major League Baseball to blame? And we got to blame the city of Oakland. The A's have come out saying that they have wanted to stay in Oakland. And I think that moving the A's out of Oakland is going to be devastating. I think Oakland Athletics baseball is kind of cemented with Major League Baseball. The A's have come out saying they want to stay in Oakland. They have tried to reach a deal with the city of Oakland. But I'm going to put blame on the city of Oakland for this, saying that, have you done enough to try to keep this team? Have you offered them everything they want? They want a state-of-the-art stadium to kind of draw fans. There have been renderings about lakefront stadiums, stadiums that are kind of like built within the city itself. But Oakland, I don't believe, has done enough to keep this franchise. Now, if the Athletics do make this move, and I said this earlier, this will be the third team that Oakland has lost in the past 5 years. The Warriors left to go back to San Francisco, and if you don't know, the Warriors are originally from San Francisco. They're originally the San Francisco Warriors when they started playing, moved to Oakland to become the Golden State Warriors, and now they're back in San Francisco. The Raiders, they've been the Los Angeles Raiders, the Oakland Raiders, LA, Oakland. Now they're back into Vegas. Now they're in Vegas. So I feel really bad for the Athletic fans. They're one of the more passionate fan bases that I've seen when I've been watching Oakland Athletics games on MLB TV. They're bringing out so much energy to games. They have banners, they got drums. They have a very passionate fan base out in Oakland, and it's going to be sad to see this team leave Oakland. I mean, I was watching Party Interruption, and Michael Wilbon was saying that it's going to be sad to see this team leave Oakland, because when you think baseball in California, the Oakland Athletics are one of those teams that you think about. I mean, you had the Bash Brothers. You had Jose Canseco, Mark McGwire, the Bash Brothers in the late 80s. You had Ricky Henderson out there, stolen base record. I mean, you have Moneyball. I mean, the Athletics have a movie based on them, pretty much on how their owner built up a winning team in the early 2000s. I mean, you talk about they had the 20-game winning streak in 2003. They just have a lot of rich history in Oakland, and I think it's going to be a sad day when the A's officially announce they're moving to Las Vegas. And I'm not going to say that it's going to happen soon, but I am going to say that that day is coming, unfortunately. The announcement that the Athletics will be moving to Vegas, in my opinion, is inevitable. It is not going to be a great day when you see the owner for the Athletics, you see the mayor of Vegas standing by the Vegas Strip on what's going to be the brand new stadium for the Athletics, announcing that the Oakland Athletics will be moving to Las Vegas at the start of, let's say, the 2026-2027 season. Now, if they do move to Vegas, we know that the stadium is not going to be ready in time. We know that takes a while to build, but they do have a minor league stadium, the Vegas Area 51s, that can host a major league team. So you just add a little more seating in there, and they can make it work until that stadium gets built. And you know that when they do build a new stadium, ladies and gentlemen, it is going to be a state-of-the-art retractable roof with all the bells and whistles, and it's going to be one of the best stadiums in baseball when this happens. So, as of right now, as of April 23rd, the Athletics are still in Oakland, but it does look like a move to Vegas is inevitable, and we'll keep you here. We'll keep you updated here on the Bullpen podcast with everything that goes forward with the Oakland Athletics move to Vegas. All right, let's move to some positive news. It was early this week. Liam Hendricks announced on his Instagram that he is officially cancer-free. So he says that he is officially cancer-free. His treatment is over. And this was probably one of the better baseball news stories that we've heard over the last week. I know White Sox fans are excited. They're excited to see him back on the field. Baseball is happy that Hendricks has made it to this. He announced his diagnosis back in January, 5-month treatment that he posted on his Instagram of him ringing the bell that he is officially cancer-free. So Liam Hendricks, from us here at the Bullpen Podcast, congratulations. We are glad that you made it through this healthy, and we are looking forward to seeing you back on the field. I know personally as a White Sox fan, I cannot wait to see you back on the field in a White Sox uniform closing out games. So congratulations on your treatment going your way, and we look forward to seeing you back in a White Sox uniform shortly. All right, let's get into some series recap. So last week we picked 3 series, and I'm going to give you a recap of how we did in the family over here. So standings as of right now, I have picked 9 out of 21 series correctly. My wife has still kicked my ass, correctly calling 14 out of 21. She's only incorrectly called 7 series. I have incorrectly called more than 10. My math's not good. But we both picked the Blue Jays to win versus the Astros last week. Unfortunately, the Astros did win that series 2-1. The Brewers did sweep the Mariners. I did pick the Brewers. My wife picked the Mariners. And we know that the Rays were swept by the White Sox, and we know who picked who in that series. So, as of right now, the standings are 14 of 21 correctly for my wife, 9 out of 21 correctly for me. Now, let's get into some upcoming series. So, I got 3 series here that I think are going to be a great series to watch this week. And we're going to start with the hottest team in baseball, the Tampa Bay Rays. Will be heading to Houston to take on the defending World Series champions, the Houston Astros. As of right now, the Rays are amazing, 19-3. The Astros are 12-10. The Rays are sitting up at the top of the American League East. As soon as my standings refresh, the Astros are sitting second in the AL West behind the Texas Rangers. So right now, the Rays have a 4.5 game lead over Baltimore. Houston trails Texas by 2.5 in the AL West. So we have your guy versus Bradley to open up the series, Garcia versus Rosman, and Brown versus the TBD. So it has been a TBD coming up here. This is going to be a great series. I think you have the Rays who are playing incredible baseball. They are just firing on all cylinders. They have homered in 22 straight games. They have amazing pitching. Their bullpen is great. Their defense is on point. It's hard not to pick against the Rays right now, as they are the best team in baseball, and rightfully so deserved. Kevin Cashman has that team firing on all cylinders. Randy Rosna is playing good. Brandon Lowe is playing good. That whole team is just stellar. They got amazing pitching, like I said, amazing offense, and we agree in this household. So I am picking the Rays. My wife is obviously picking the Rays as well. So we're both picking the Rays to win this series over the Astros. Moving on to our next series, we got the Seattle Mariners at the Philadelphia Phillies. So this is an interesting series for me, as these are two teams who obviously made the playoffs last year. Seattle, as a wild card, got to the division round. Philadelphia, obviously, we know they, defending NL champs, got to the World Series, came up short against the Astros. But these are two teams that are really underperforming right now. The Mariners are 10-12. They sit 4.5 games back of Texas. The Phillies are 11-12. They sit 3.5 games back of Atlanta. And it's kind of weird that these two teams are kind of off to a slow start. We know last year Seattle got off to a really slow start. Then they caught fire starting in May, and they just kind of ran with it through then. Philly was kind of up and down all season. They snuck into the playoffs on the last day last year. And then kind of just rode that momentum, getting past the Cardinals and the Braves and getting to the World Series over the Padres. So this series is going to be an interesting one. You got Gilbert versus Falter to open up the series, Gonzalez versus Walker, and Kirby versus Strom to close out the series. We're kind of torn on who we're going to pick. I was flipping back and forth myself on who I was going to pick in this series. I said, all right, I'm going to go with Philly. I think they're going to get back on momentum. But then looking, well, no, Seattle's starting to play good. They're starting to catch fire. I think they'll get going here shortly. So I was flipping back and forth on who I'm going to pick in this series. But going forward, I did flip back to the Phillies. I am picking the Phillies. My wife is going with the Mariners. So we are split on this series going forward. And our last series that we're going to talk about are the Yankees going to Texas to face on the Texas Rangers. This is going to be a 4-game series starting Thursday, so we do not know the pitching matchups as of yet. However, right now the Rangers are playing amazing baseball. They're 14-7, 667 winning percentage. They are 7-3 in their last 10 games, are on a 2-game winning streak. The Yankees are 13-9, 6 games back of the Rays. They're 5-5. They just lost 1 game already. This is going to be a great series, in my opinion. I mean, it's a 4-game series, so you know it's going to be battle royale going into Texas. The Rangers are playing fantastic baseball. We know that Jacob deGrom had a little bit of an injury scare today, but he kind of came back to help Texas get the win. Yankees have been playing great baseball. They are dealing with some injuries with Stan as well. Garrett Cole has just been fantastic. I know the Yankees are waiting for Carlos Rodon to return back from injury. I'll double check on what his status is. But as we talk this series, you have to talk about what this means going forward for the New York Yankees, in my opinion. I think the Yankees going forward are going to be that question mark in this division. And as I talk right now, Carlos Rodon is not on the 40-man roster or the active. I believe he is inactive right now. Oh, hold on, I just lost that. Yeah, Carlos Rodon is not on the active roster. He is currently on the IL, so they're hoping to get him back shortly, because once Carlos Rodon is healthy, he is absolutely a stellar pitcher. I mean, his last season with the White Sox in 2021 was a great bounce back season for him. He had a kind of an up and down season last year with San Francisco before signing with New York. But then you got the Rangers, who are just playing fantastic baseball. I mean, we kind of knew that the Rangers were going to be good. I thought it was going to be maybe a year or two before the Rangers were actually good. But DeGrom does shake off an injury scare, comes back with an 11 strikeout game against the Oakland Athletics today. The Rangers are playing great baseball. Grossman had a 3-run homer today. So, but going through this series, I am picking the Rangers. I like what I'm seeing with Texas right now. My wife is picking the Yankees. Her dad is a Yankee fan, so we're going to try to please the family with that. But I am going with Texas. I'm going to go with my red Texas hat this week, as the Rangers are facing off against the Yankees. Well, that is our episode for this week. I know it was a pretty short episode. I did go into a little more detail with the Athletics potentially being moved to Vegas. Before I go up, I'm just going to kind of go back and chime in on that again. You know, I never thought I would see multiple franchises move in my lifetime. The first franchise I saw move was the Montreal Expos in 2004, moved to Washington to become the Washington Nationals. I saw a relocation with the Atlanta Thrashers, moving to Winnipeg to become the Winnipeg Jets. I'm not really sure what this location is, but the New Jersey Nets moving to Brooklyn to become the Brooklyn Nets. And then we just had multiple NFL franchises move since 2016. You had the Rams move out of St. Louis to LA. Chargers moved to LA as well. And then the Raiders to Vegas. But it's sad to say that, unfortunately, I don't think it's going to be the end of franchises relocating in professional sports. It is just part of the business. Yeah, you're hooked on that franchise being in that one location, but if you're not willing to dish out the money, in my opinion, to keep that franchise there, especially if they're playing in a stadium that hasn't been updated, that hasn't gone through any upgrades, or they're playing in the same stadium that they played in when they got there maybe 30, 40 years ago, you need to invest the money in that team, or you need to put some effort into upgrading a stadium. The Cubs, I know there are a lot of talks about what's going on with Wrigley Field. The Cubs put the money back into Wrigley Field. They upgraded that stadium. So the White Sox at the Cell, they made that a more fan-friendly stadium. You got the Marlins down in Miami, who left Pro Player Stadium and moved into a brand new stadium. Now, granted, they're playing over 500 baseball right now, but they're still not drawing a crowd. My opinion is franchises are going to relocate in the future. It's something that's not going to be inevitable. You cannot stop this. Franchises will relocate. It's something that is going to keep happening time and time again. Whether it's in baseball, football, basketball, or hockey, franchises will relocate. It's just going to be a part of the game that we're going to have to deal with. And I'm going to put the Tampa Bay Rays in this basket right now. There have been a lot of talks about moving that team out of Tampa. I know they've been kind of quiet talks. I know they've been kind of going through and be like, why would you move a good team out of Tampa? The stadium is located in St. Petersburg. It is a pain in the ass to get to that stadium. I mean, we left about Orlando. We were in Disney this past weekend. We left Disney around, I would say, 10 o'clock. We didn't get to the stadium until a little after 1 o'clock just because of traffic down I-4. Traffic when you got across the St. Petersburg Bridge over on 275 over to St. Petersburg. Getting to that stadium is a pain in the ass. I mean, we love going to Rays games just because they're so close to our home. But getting to that stadium is just such a pain in the ass to get there because you're spending so much time in the car getting there. And then leaving the stadium wasn't as bad. It's still a hassle leaving the stadium. But if you have a team like the Rays that are the best team in baseball right now, and they look like they're going to be the best team this year, they look like they're going to just have another great season, you need to put the money into that stadium and get them a better stadium. I mean, the Rams, when they were playing in St. Louis in the NFL, they were playing the Edward Dome. They were playing a dome stadium. And they talked about, and St. Louis came out saying, hey, we want to keep you guys. We want to build you a nice new stadium. Obviously, they did not see eye to eye. And then the Rams made a deal with the Los Angeles area to build a stadium. Will we see franchises like the Baltimore Colts who secretly moved their franchise out of Baltimore to Indianapolis? Or will we see something like the Cleveland Browns where Art Modell moved the team to Baltimore in the middle of the season? I don't think we're going to see anything like that, but I still think that we're going to see franchises leaving cities in the future. Now, it would become a shocker if we see a long-term franchise leave a city, but I don't think we're going to see that happen. I think that if you've been there for more than 100 years, or let's say 75 to 100 years at this time, as most of these franchises are coming up into 60 plus years in one location, it would be a mistake to move one of those franchises who have been there for pretty much since they were founded. But if you put the money in, you will keep that franchise. So I'm not saying this as a doubt to any city that's looking to keep a franchise or looking to lure a franchise. But if you have a franchise in your city, do everything that you can to keep that franchise there. Fans love sports. They will go to games when those teams are good. They will watch games on TV when those games are good. And when that team wins, that will be a good thing for the city as you now have a championship team in that city. So I'm going to end on that. We hope you enjoyed this episode. We'll get this episode posted on Spotify, Apple, Google, wherever you get your podcasts tomorrow afternoon. Thank you guys very much for joining the show. We hope you have a great evening and enjoy your week. Have a good night, everyone.